Cool.
Welcome aboard.
Hi, hello. A lot of
You
faces.
ready in,
Awesome.
Lindsay?
Yes.
All right. And we're
Lindsay,
off.
I can actually see all of you, but I don't know because you said you pinned a few people.
I
Sorry.
think it just means we'll stay at the top, Lindsay. It doesn't mean that everybody can still see each other.
Yeah.
Is what I'm seeing. Okay. Yeah. So, hi, everybody. I'm Kelly Gilfillan. I'm one of the partners of Camino for Good, and we're very excited that you're here and hoping that all of you are walking with us on our virtual Camino de Santiago app. And if you're not, we would be happy to have you. Just a little bit of background. Camino for Good started last summer in June of 2020, and we launched the app in August. And then a lot of people joined us in January for the Walk for Good Challenge, and then the March to Santiago began March 1st, and we're over 2,500 hikers now. And cool. Unbelievable success, because that means is we give away 75% of our net income to all of the hostels, pilgrim hostels that are along the Camino de Santiago, and they're called albergues. So we'll be talking about them today. And I guess I can go ahead and spill the beans. With the fundraiser with I'll Push You, we raised $15,000, which puts us at almost $73,000 going to the albergues. So thank
technically
you.
16,500 and something. 16,000. 16.
Okay, so we're at 75,000 then. That's amazing.
There you go. Cross 75,000.
Yeah, well, and that's thanks to Justin and Patrick and to all of you who bought the app and who are doing this with us. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't even tell you how much these albergue owners appreciate your help, and it really does warm all of our hearts that hello from Ottawa, Susan, that we're able to help these people. They're just such special people. So now I want to introduce our special guests today, Patrick Gray and Justin Skeesuck. They have known each other literally all their lives. They were born 36 hours apart, and have been on an amazing journey ever since. And I did want to mention that I love how they say their lives have been intertwined for 45 years, because I think that's really a beautiful way to describe a friendship, but it's also really what happens when you walk the Camino. Your lives become intertwined with others, and it's just it's an amazing thing, right? So cool. Hopefully everybody kind of knows about you guys, but the movie I'll Push You, I hope you've had a chance to watch it. If you haven't, please do. It is an amazing story. It touched my heart. It made me cry multiple times. It made me laugh really hard. And but it's a beautiful love story in a way, the love of friendship. And so if you guys don't mind, maybe introduce yourselves a little bit more, and then we can proceed to some questions. Oh, one more housekeeping thing. Everybody came in muted, but if you want to ask a question, please put it in the chat. And when it comes your time, you can unmute yourself and have a little back and forth. But please put all questions in the chat. If you don't know where that is at the bottom of the screen under all the pictures, there's a little bubble, like a little cartoon bubble. And so place them there. And Susan Depew, one of the other partners, is going to help me keep an eye on that. But all right, Justin, Patrick, you guys take it away.
Thanks, Kelly. I'll kick it off. So I'm Justin. First off, thank you all who watched the movie, participated in the virtual screening, if you did that, and donated on top of the ticket price. And just to be clear, I want to be very, very clear in our efforts with this. In traditional ways, Camino for Good does their 25% take for admin and those kind of things. But all the ticket sales, all the donations went into the pot that we're going to be giving to albergues. So just so everyone's aware, in this particular instance, that's what we did. And I'm really just over the moon. Thank you so much for watching the movie if you did that, and then donating. That really, really does help these people keep the Camino alive, which is what we are trying to do here. So anyway, yeah. So Pat and I, Pat can talk about that, but we live in, Idaho. We live just outside of Boise, Idaho, in Southwest Idaho. And man, it's a beautiful day today, and hanging out with you all today. We're looking to answer some questions. Just a quick nutshell on me. I am married almost 21 years in May, and I have 3 children, Jaden, Noah, and Lauren. Jaden is a 17-year-old going to be going into college this fall. And my middle boy, Noah, is going to be he's a sophomore right now. And then my daughter, Lauren, is just turned 12 and she's in 6th grade. So hands full being parents.
Yep. Yeah. And it'll be 24 years for me, married in June of this year. 3 kids. Cambria is 16. Today is her birthday, actually. And then my boy, he is 12, and my youngest daughter is 11. Joshua and Olivia are the other 2. And so we are ready for Q&A. We've said it before. It's been in the notification. Anything is fair game. It's you can ask us anything, and we will do our best to answer. We haven't had a question yet that we haven't been able to answer. We have some pretty hard ones, some pretty intimate ones, but we're willing to go anywhere you are. So feel free to ask anything that's on your mind. All right. So I say we just open it up. We only have so much time together. Let's actually dive in.
Okay. Looks like the first one is, what was your favorite moment on the Camino?
Ooh.
That's got to be a tough one.
Yeah. I'll go first. My favorite moment, moment, I guess, period, because there's so many moments that we could point to. We laughed a lot. There's so much laughter that's not caught on film just because Justin and I are a couple of idiots. But yes. I loved the Meseta. Just the time to really reflect on yourself, really kind of dig into who you are versus who you want to be. It's painful, but I wouldn't trade that 150-mile stretch for anything, because you really get to know yourself. When there's no change in landscape, no change in the environment, it's the same thing over and over and over. You are forced inward in a way that I've never experienced otherwise. I mean, a prayer, meditation, you name it, nothing can compare to that 150 miles of digging into how you can just be a better person. I wouldn't trade that for anything. How about you, Jay?
Yeah, that question is always interesting, because it's kind of like saying, who's your favorite child? Because there's so many wonderful moments that we've had, and I'll have one that's kind of throwing myself under the bus, but also instigated by Patrick. And this is not in the movie. I kind of wish it was, but it wasn't. I don't even know, where were we? We're in the tiny little town.
I don't know what you're gonna say, so I can't help you out.
Oh, it's the ice cream situation.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So anyway, well, we're in this tiny little town. I'm just, the name of it's blanking on me, but we had just walked all day. We get to this place, and literally, if you might recall what it is, it's there's just a little bar, an albergue, I think a hotel, and a chapel. I mean, I think that's pretty much it that's there. So we're grabbing, and this bar is really tiny. And I'll try to be short with the story, but we go in this bar, and I barely fit in this bar in my wheelchair. So kind of we're with our director, Terry, who's walking with us, and I'm kind of shoved in this corner of this bar. I mean, literally the bar is to my left, and where Patrick and Terry were sitting were to my right, and it's kind of wedged in this place. And I'm looking over, and we're having this conversation, having dinner, and I look over at the end of the bar, and I see this short, wild-eyed, wild hair Spanish woman eating a drumstick ice cream cone. And I look over, and I'm like, and I turn to Pat, and I have a bit of a sweet tooth. So I turned to Pat and I said, hey, after dinner, can you grab me a drumstick ice cream? He's like, yeah, no problem. So I'm kind of looking at this lady, and she latches on her eyes with me. And before I knew it, she was at my feet, talking to me in rapid fire Spanish. I speak some Spanish. I don't speak a ton of it. I can kind of get the gist of when somebody's talking to me, but I really don't know exactly what they're saying. I kind of get it. But she starts talking to me, blah, 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 blah. And before I knew it, she had taken her half-eaten drumstick ice cream cone and shoved it in my mouth. Complete stranger. Have no idea who this woman is. And I turned to Pat and I'm like, dude, because I can't lift my hands. Like I can't like swat it away or anything. And I turned to Pat and I was like, dude, you gonna help me? And he just looks at me and says, nope. And this woman force fed me her ice cream cone. So we just shared it. She took a bite. I took a bite. She took a bite. Before I knew it, it was over. And Pat and Terry are just laughing at me the entire time, whipping out their camera. We have photos of it. I have some photos.
Yeah, it was amazing.
But he just, totally left me in the lurch, and I just shared an ice cream cone with a complete stranger, hoping that I wasn't going to catch something. But when she was done, she just turned around and walked away. So I got my ice cream cone. It's a good moment. A weird moment, but a good one.
Yeah. I thought some of the weird ones are definitely the most memorable, not miserable, memorable. Yeah. And I'll throw in my favorite movie moment was O Sombrero, when you guys got to the bottom of the hill and those people were waiting on you, and that the teamwork, and I was crying while y'all walked that hill. That was amazing. Beautiful experience. Next question is, what's next for you two?
Next for us. Well, I would say what's next is kind of what we're working on right now. And I mean, unfortunately with COVID, we had to postpone, but we started Accessible Caminos. We actually took in 2019, 10 people in wheelchairs, a gal who was visually impaired, and 37 helpers on the, from Saria on in. And that was wild just to see so many people gathering around to make someone else's dream come true. Because these are people that never thought in a million years they'd be able to go on a long hike, let alone a portion of the Camino. And so we're trying to keep those going, but COVID's making that really challenging. So we have plans to do one in September this year. It was supposed to be June. We pushed back to September, and then we have 2 more slated for next June with all kinds of people from all walks of life that they want to know what this Camino thing is all about, but they're in wheelchairs, or they have a really severe limp and they need some assistance, or they're visually impaired. They just want to experience the sounds and the smells and the textures of the Camino. And so doing whatever we can to make that possible has been pretty cool. So that's kind of the next current/future stage for us. Right. It's hard. It's challenging, because you build these groups up, you get people so excited, and then COVID hits, you have to unravel it and postpone to the next year. And COVID is still here, so we had to postpone again. So it's kind of heartbreaking, yet super exciting all at the same time. But that's where we are right now.
Yeah. Awesome. So I'll do a quick plug. If you're interested, just go to accessiblecamino.com, and we have a wait list if you would like to get on the wait list for when we announce those kind of things. So accessiblecamino.com, and we'd love to have you join us if you want. It's pretty cool. Or if you know somebody who has a disability of any kind, it's not just wheelchairs, it's any kind that we are making it available to. And it's really cool to be a part of that. So it's a monumental effort to do that, but it's so worth it.
Yeah, it sounds definitely worth it. Yeah. How inspiring. Well, one of the next question is, I almost skipped it because it's similar, but actually it's really different. So the other question was, what was your favorite moment? And this question is, what was your happiest moment?
Yeah, that's definitely different, because the Meseta wasn't a happy time for me. If you read the book, it's not happy. Yeah. It's really hard. We don't get into it in the film just because there wasn't enough time, but that was definitely my favorite moment. Happiest? I mean, nothing compares with walking into the square of Santiago. I mean, to see your wife the first time in 6 weeks, to know that she's there cheering you on. I know Justin probably feels the same way. that moment of like locking eyes and seeing her in the center of the square, combined with all these pilgrims who have walked with us and made it there before us, but are cheering us in.
Yeah.
That was absolute joy.
Yeah. I mean, same thing, just seeing my wife, you know, we're both family men. We're both love our wives. That's a big part of who we are as men. They make us better. We married way up. So, to see their faces again was definitely the happiest moment for me. And just so you know, Pat kind of just quickly went over that. Is we have a book, if you're not familiar with it, called I'll Push You, same title. If you weren't aware of that. And it's not this, it's a good sister piece to the movie. So if you're interested in learning more in depth about us and our story, then there's some more stories that we share in that too. So just to let you know.
Awesome.
Yeah. Next question.
Well, Peter Campagna said, Justin and Patrick read your book, saw the movie, and if nothing else, want to say thanks for your story and your inspiration. So speaking of the book.
Thanks, Peter.
And let's see. My questions are for Justin. First of all, how are you in relative terms? And second, how difficult was it for you to accept help from your best friend in a way that was both very personal and even somewhat intimate in nature? What defines your friendship? That's 3 questions.
Wow. Okay. So how am I doing? Well, I mean, I'm doing okay. The disease that I have does get worse over time. It does continue to progress. And obviously makes every daily living a challenge, from when I get up until I go to bed at night. And so I try to navigate life as best as I can, trying to stay healthy. This last year was definitely a concern. Didn't want to get sick and those kind of things. Thank God I never did. And I'm now fully vaxxed. So, so that hopefully will help kind of in those things. So I think I'm doing all right. I think most of the last year has been for me, I think just trying to stay mentally healthy. That's kind of the hardest part, because we're on such a trajectory where, we speak all around the globe and we're traveling and doing all that, and just kind of all that went to a complete screeching halt. And so just kind of like reshuffling and trying to figure it out. Okay. So I'm hanging in there. What was the next question?
How difficult was it for you to accept help from your best friend in a way that was both very personal and even somewhat intimate in nature?
Well, I would take somewhat out of the equation. I mean, definitely it's intimate. It's from, for those who care for me in daily living, like Patrick has stepped into that role. Our trip together isn't the first time that he stepped into that. He has been several years that he has been kind of helping with that, helping me in showering and bathroom and, all that kind of very personal circle. I call him the vice president of my inner circle. My wife is my president and CEO. I don't know if she wants that title, but she's got it. But so letting people, I mean, it's been an evolution, I think, for our journey for Patrick and I. I think when the first time he helped me in the shower, I was still living in San Diego. So that was a couple years prior to us leaving on our pilgrimage. And that was a interesting and funny experience. But I think ever since then, Patrick has been so awesome to step into that role. And then when we're on the Camino, it's every day. So, most people don't realize that, I think they briefly say in the movie, but, Patrick was putting in crazy long days. I mean, getting me up, getting me ready. We walk, 8 hours or whatever. And then he's got to unwind all of that at the end of the night and then do it again the next day. So, but it was cool to have him be by my side and do that. And then Ted from the movie, our buddy Ted, he also stepped into that role. And that was the first time that he had ever done that for me too. So actually just saw him last weekend, and I reminded him that I peed on him one time. So, but
That was his fault.
It was his fault though. It was his fault. But you know, like he stepped into that role and was really cool about helping me help offset some of the workload from Patrick when he was with us. And so that was that is another step in a friendship with him that is really cool. It's a weird bonding experience just to know that he, you know, can step into that role and do that. Outside of that, you know, having so many people help us along the way. It wasn't just me, it was us. So it's, for me, I've always looked at accepting help as a way to give a gift to somebody else. They're giving me a gift of helping me, but the gift is only half as good as if there's not a reciprocal piece to that. So in many ways, I've been forced to live to accept help because I have to live. But on the Camino, it's a much different situation. You know, it's people who stepped in willingly to help us. And it was always just I just always look at it as an open door for discussion to get to know somebody better. And I didn't even realize it. And I'll try to sum this up quickly, but I didn't realize what it was like until about 3/4 of the way through the trip, where, and you won't even notice this or know, but when I'm in my off-road wheelchair, the one that I took on the Camino, I have zero independence, like zero. I cannot move myself. I am literally sitting in that chair waiting for somebody to move me from point A to point B. And about 3/4 of the way through the journey, it's kind of like the light bulb went off and realized that, oh man, I gave up the last bit of independence that I had going into this journey, and I've gained so much more. And I was holding on, you know, I didn't realize how tightly I was holding on to that little bit of independence that I had left. And by letting that go, I was able to, we had climbed Osabrero by that point. I mean, all of the things in the movie that had all happened to that point was just like, okay. It's a wonderful gift you can give to somebody to let them into your journey and help you along the way. You just have to be able to accept that. So there you go.
The last part of that, thank you for that. That was beautiful. I got goosebumps when you said that. And it's so true, whether it's, you know, something physical or mental, when you let somebody help you, it brings joy to both people, or at least some kind of closeness, I think. The last part of that triple question was, and maybe Patrick can answer this one, or you both can, what defines your friendship?
Go ahead, Pat, you take it.
That's actually really easy. Like almost reckless intentionality, if that makes sense, and laughter, a lot of humor. We are so intentional with time, with reaching out, with spending time together, making space for our friendship to flourish. And we've done that our whole lives. We didn't realize how much we did it until actually after coming back from the Camino, people started reaching out, and we had these conversations about relationships and growth and how life, you know, is just so much richer when you have people that you can share it with. And we didn't understand how unique our friendship is until people started asking how we were able to cultivate what we have. And through a lot of, you know, self-reflection and group reflection, man, we've just always been intentional. We just pursue time together. And within that, we just laugh a lot. I mean, there's not a time that the four of us get together, you know, Justin, his wife, my wife, and I, where our wives aren't shaking their heads at us because we're just a couple of idiots. We just laugh all the time. And it's anytime you're facing something challenging like Justin's disease or you name it, it's always easier to deal with. It's a little more palatable when you can find that humor, even though it's not an ideal situation. You just you don't make light of things, you just find where there can be joy in spite of things. So that makes sense. So intentionality and humor. That's
Yep.
it.
The next question actually leads into that, and maybe you already answered it, but I'm thinking maybe not. What made you laugh the most on the Camino?
I don't think we can top the ice cream story. That was,
Okay.
I was laughing. Like I was crying. I was laughing so hard.
Yeah.
And the look on Justin's face when I picked up my iPhone, you know, and took a picture of it. He's just like, seriously, come on, man, like help me out. I'm like, no way.
You left me
And
for
afterwards, I asked him, okay, truthful, if we were switched, would you help me out? He's like, no. So
yeah, and that wasn't the first time I was force fed, by the way. It happened a couple times, but
yeah.
Lovely. Okay, next question. In Dan Mullen's podcast, you talked about the ripple effect of your adventure. Do you think that all this was meant to be, in a way, in the sense that now you are helping other people with I'll Push You Inc.?
I think so. You know, you just, I mean, when you're kind of in the middle of it, I mean, we went through what we went through, and things since then, we're just trying to follow our heart and trying to follow where we feel we need to be. And with these accessible caminos or speaking or books or whatever we're trying to do, we're just trying to keep where we feel we need to be. And it's a lot of work, but we're also kind of in the middle of it. So we have no clue of kind of, you know, the ripple effect of what we went through. I mean, the movie is accurate. The book is accurate. And I think it's just trying to navigate where our hearts are. I'm trying to make sense of this, but I don't know. Anything you want to add, Pat?
Well, I don't know. This relates to a certain degree. My wife and I were having a conversation just the other day on a walk about we were just talking about love at first sight, like, you know, and neither one of us ascribe to that kind of thing, you know, or the that there's one person out there. I think if situations unfold, you know, like if I had chosen to go to a different college and never met my wife, probably would have met somebody else. I don't entertain what that would be like. It's just different things happen based on decisions, right? So that relates to this, in that we made a decision. Whether it was meant to be or not, I don't spend time focused on that. Just that what we have right now, it's a gift, is something that has allowed us to pour into the lives of so many people, and vice versa. We've been blessed by other people's stories colliding with ours in just beautiful ways. Much like the Camino, I mean, it just kind of keeps going. Once you go on the Camino, you just you're more aware of all these relationships that you're just blessed to have in your life, or just even contact points where you meet a barista at a coffee shop. You'll never see her again, but you have a moment where either she blesses you or you bless her, just because of the nature of the conversation. And if I focus on what is meant to be versus just the fact that I am so blessed to have what I have, it can be distracting, if that makes sense. Because then I'm always thinking about, okay, is this next thing meant to be? I'm always trying to do the thing that's meant to be. I try to pursue things in a way that can, if I'm not careful, become unhealthy, or maybe just distracting is the best way to put that. So whether it's meant to be or not, I don't know. I just know that where we are, we're blessed to be, and we've been given an opportunity to pour into other people's lives in a very unique way. And I'm just thankful for that. I hope that helps answer your question, Melanie. It's just, we just count it as a gift, whether it's just the outcome of our decisions or divine intervention. I'll never know. I don't really care. I'm just glad to be here. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, you're just describing being present, which is
right.
What you really have to do on the Camino. But I think you learn that on the Camino, and you're able to bring it back into your life. It's one of the best things about it. You kind of talk about this in the movie a little bit, about how it happened and watching the PBS special. But the next question is, why did you choose the Camino for your adventure? There are many other hiking possibilities. What's so special to this way?
Yeah. And Kelly, when you ask the questions, can you say who it's from so we can see?
That is
That's
Petra.
okay. That's okay. Petra. All right. Well, I mean, to be honest with you, we weren't even looking at doing some sort of hiking trail. I think we were just when I learned about the pilgrimage by watching Rick Steves on PBS. Up until that point, Patrick and I had been really kind of discussing, you know, we've traveled with our wives and kids or families, and we've done stuff, but we just kind of tossed around the idea of doing just a trip with just Pat and I, just going somewhere, hanging out. We were looking at Oktoberfest. We were looking at going to a beach somewhere. Or, I mean, we were kind of tossing around a few different ideas. And when I learned about the pilgrimage, it was just, I just knew. It wasn't like I was looking at, oh, we should do PCT, or we should do Appalachian, or we should do, you know, something in Ireland or whatever. There was no other option. That was it. And I don't know how that is for, you know, those of you guys who are watching and listening, is you just have those moments where you just know, and that's it. So there was no other discussion of other trails to take. And then I pitched the idea to Pat and I said, hey, what do you think? And his response was, I'll push you. That was it. And then off we went. There was no discussion other than that. Right. And we just went.
Which I'm going to totally contradict myself from what I said earlier. But in that case, it kind of was meant to be, you know, I mean, our relationship, I feel like, was meant to be. So, Melanie, I'm totally going back on what I said before. I don't spend time thinking about it, but when Justin asked, it was just like, there's no other.
And here we are.
Yeah.
From all of that. Yeah.
Right.
It's just trust. You know what it is? It's just trusting that when your heart is tugging at you, to listen to it. You know, Pat and I, we've said this many times and we'll say it again. We follow why we do something, not how we do it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. Thank you,
That's
Petra.
a good way.
Yeah. Well, and just to expand on that, if you focus on how you're going to do something, the devil's in the details, and so many barriers will come up. You get distracted from the mission behind something or the power behind something. But when you focus on the why, come hell or high water, you'll figure it out, because you're focused on the passion behind it, you know, the outcome, that kind of thing, as opposed to, oh man, how are we going to do this? That's just never a successful way to navigate business life. If you focus on all the little nitty gritty stuff, that's where you spend your time, and you miss out on all the stuff around you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Petra. Appreciate it.
So I'm going to combine two questions because they are related, from Melanie and Philippa. Can't tell if it's Philippa or Philippa. And it's, do you need volunteers? And then what are the requirements if you want to join one of your Camino groups as a volunteer?
Yeah, we always need volunteers, you know, because we aim for a ratio of 4 to 5 to 1 pushers to 1 wheelchair. The one we did in 2019, we had 3 to 1 ratio, and it was really, really tough. We made it, but it was really hard. And so safety is always paramount, you know, for our both our pushers and the ones who are you know, being pushed. And so, yes, we always need help. And the requirement, I mean, we had to have people that can help. We often get requests to join, and the people will say, well, hey, you know, I can walk myself, but I can't push, you know, but I can be a cheerleader, and like, cheerleading is great, but without the physical component, these people aren't going to get from point A to point B. So there's times we have to turn people down if they can't physically help, just because we need the space for people that can dig in and push or pull. So what often happens is that we'll have people that we call them kind of auxiliary helpers, that might not be a part of the actual group, because the group is something where everything's mapped out: lodging, food, all the accessible transport and accessible support vehicles. I mean, it's a huge thing to put together. All that is figured out within this. And so people that aren't a part of the official group and eat dinner with us every night, that kind of thing, they might be on the Camino and show up during the day, either walk with us and help where they can. So there's ways to be creative on people joining the group without necessarily taking up a spot of someone who is you know, an avid physical helper, if that makes sense. So hope that answers your question.
Well, and how we mitigate that is, or not mitigate, but
Address it.
find the right people is it's an application process.
Yeah.
So we personally interview every single person that wants to go, so that we know they know what they're getting themselves into.
Yeah. That's great.
Well, sorry, just to add to that real quick, Kelly,
Okay.
just kind of piggyback on what Justin said. When we're interviewing individuals that need assistance, if we have someone who requires a level of care, like say in Justin's case, he needs someone to actually help him in the day-to-day, not just pushing. I'm his care provider on the trail, right? I'm the one who's making sure he's fed and showered and can get in bed, that kind of stuff. If someone has that level of need, they have to bring someone along with them in order to address those things. We're not going to put someone as a volunteer into that role. One, it's a liability piece. Two, it's just not okay.
Yeah.
And so there is an onus on the individuals that are coming that need help to make sure they have their activities of daily living covered with support. And there's quite a few that they might be paraplegic, but they can totally navigate life on their own in the hotel room, shower, that kind of thing. They just need help on the trail, so they might come by themselves. But often individuals that need assistance have someone who's coming with them to make sure those kind of nitty-gritty intimate details are covered.
Do all of these trips, sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, so can you apply on the website?
Yes.
Yeah. Right now it's a wait list. We'll send information out to get the application process going, but I think Justin right now is just joining the wait list, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a video there that will show you what it is and all that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do all of these trips start in Saria, or are any of them doing full Camino like you guys did, or is it?
No. It's the last 100K. So yeah, Saria, and then we're going to do 2 in June of next year. Our second one is Portugal. So we start in Vigo. And
Wow.
work
Okay.
our way up.
Yep.
Oh, you just got me there. I may have to sign up for that one. If I wanted to do Portuguese. Okay. So from Peter, thanks for what you are doing to support the Camino. From what you have seen, do you think that there is risk many of the businesses and albergues will not survive? Will the Camino be changed?
I don't see how it can't be changed to a certain degree. I mean, there's people that have walked away from the albergues because they just can't keep them open, with no people coming. But there's other individuals through efforts like Camino for Good that are still there, like Susie and Fermin, right? They're very hopeful and they want to keep the Camino alive. And so while I think it's going to change, I think there's going to be a certain passion and appreciation for what the Camino is that wasn't there before, if that's possible, because man, the Camino community is so strong. But when it opens back up, the people that do remain, the businesses that do stay there, and are able to fight their way through these tough times, the depth of relationships that are going to be formed with those people that are keeping the Camino alive for us pilgrims, I don't think we can fathom the emotional and spiritual relief, and connection that are going to occur when it comes back. So I think it's actually going to be changed for the better. We just got to get there.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. That was a great answer. Nice to hear. And definitely we'll sign up for the Camino for Good app. Are there other things beyond that you guys are aware of that can be done to support all the albergues and businesses that we can share with them?
Yeah.
I think Johnny Walker, he's doing something because he does the UK version of the APOC, the American Pilgrims of the Camino. He does the UK version of that. I think there's a specific name, Confraternity of
Confraternity
of the Fraternity, whatever it is.
Confraternity,
yeah. I think he's doing something right now through that Facebook group. So so you could search for him on that. Kelly, do you know anything else?
There's Susie and Furman have a GoFundMe for Casa Susie. They are having to replace the roof. I think they're like 7,000 Australian dollars away from, we're planning on helping them some more with this last round of funding that just came in. And but they still have, 7,000 Australian dollars is a lot more than American dollars. So that would be a great one to give to. And then we do have a donation page on our site, and actually on the I'll Push You as well, on the I'll Push You page on our site. And that money goes to the albergues if you want to do that. Our goal was 21,000 because it takes about $3,000 American dollars to kind of help that albergue make it to the summer. And now we're probably going to be helping a lot of them make it to the fall. And so our goal was to help 7 albergues with 21,000. And right now we're at 16.5. So we would still love to get to 21 and through all that. So if you guys want to help by sharing the story and sharing about the app, and there's a lot there, that's a lot of different ways that you can help. But there's if you look up on GoFundMe, you could probably put in albergue and maybe find some albergues who are looking and who are in need. And then Johnny Walker, the Confraternity of St. James, actually runs 2 different albergues, and that's what they're looking for funds to kind of keep them going and help them reopen. So I think one's on the Norte and one's on the French Way. And those are, run by volunteers, but they're owned by the confraternity.
Right.
So
Yeah.
there's a lot of ways you can help.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly.
Let's see. I like how she starts this. You 2 beautiful men know how much you have positively affected so many lives. I am sharing your children's book using the discussion guide with local school kids. Thank you.
Cool.
That's
Who was
from
that?
MM Bonk. I don't know your first name, MM Bonk.
Hi. Mbonk. 2.
It's Peggy.
Peggy.
Maggie?
Peggy.
Thank you,
My,
Maggie.
my neighbor teaches 3rd grade, and I love how, Patrick, you read the book so that we can play that for them, and they've got the coloring pages. It's a wonderful
Oh,
thing.
Very
Oh,
cool.
thank you. Thank you.
Heartwarming.
Appreciate
That book is near and dear to us, the children's book we have that Patrick wrote. So very cool. I'm glad that came
I
to
haven't
fruition.
read that one yet.
Actually, if I may, Kelly, Maggie, you brought that up. Just a
Please.
quick story behind that. The children's book was actually the first thing that came out of our trip. Before speaking, before anything, it's just kind of thing. I was at work one day and the story just kind of fell out of my head, one of the pages, and so I kind of sketched out kind of stick figures, just kind of storyboarded how I would love to see the story come to life. I brought it to Justin, read it to him, and he's like, "We have to do something with this." And so it took a while, but I knew that if we were going to make this children's book, available, it had to be done in a very specific artistic style, which it was what Justin used to do before he lost the use of his hands. So when my wife and I got married, he gave us watercolor and ink painting of one of our childhood haunts called Deep Dirt Hills. It's just a little place where we go sledding. It's very Calvin and Hobbesish in its style, just that loose color and these firm lines. And so it's just a beautiful painting. A few years later, he gave me 3 more. So I've got 4 of these paintings in my house. And when we wanted to do this children's book, I said, Justin, we have to do it in the same style. And he's like, I can't do the line art anymore. What are we going to do? So we put it out on Fiverr, a website for resourcing artists. And we found this kid out of Colorado Springs who could mimic Justin's line art style. He nailed it. We gave him all these different people the task of can you do this? And people were just missing the mark over and over and over. And this kid, at the time, I think he was 17, we started working with us, just nailed it. And so he did all the line art that you'll see in this children's book, but Justin was still able to do all the watercolor with his computer and his voice. So it's super, super special for us to know that it was the ultimate collaboration for this thing to come to life, that it was a complete representation of Justin's artistic ability. So it's really cool.
Yeah. It's one thing when you can actually watercolor. It's another thing watercoloring with your voice. It's a little harder. I had to figure that one out.
A little more blue over there.
Yeah. And has nothing to do with the Camino, by the way.
Nope.
It's just about 2 boys, that just one's in a wheelchair and they have adventures together. So it's very cool.
Just life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's called the Push. Yeah.
The Push.
The Push, yeah.
Philippa is asking, do you think you will ever do any of the other routes? Sounds like you're going to do the Portuguese or part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We would love to do these accessible Caminos for as long as my body will allow. I mean, if COVID can get behind us, I wouldn't surprise me if we're doing, various routes for the next 10, 15 years. That would not surprise me at all. As long as my body holds up and Justin's health holds out,
We want to go.
as long as we can do that, we will. As far as accessibility is concerned, the Portuguese and the French way are by far the safest, just because we have lots of stopping points. We have towns with, big enough, like to give you an idea, for the Sarria to Santiago, we arrive in Santiago, but then we stay in Lugo the first 4 nights because we have close access to the trail. Because there's not enough room in any of the towns with accessible lodging or good showers for people who have, like, they're paraplegics. So skin breakdown is a real issue when you're on the trail day in and day out. They got to go back to a place they have a comfortable bed and they can take care of their skin. So we have to be in hotels. Albergues just aren't an option yet. Maybe they will be in the future. So we have to have locations all on the trail where we can make sure people's health is addressed and, effectively. Yeah. And right now that's really the French way, that last 100K, and then the Portuguese. So that's where we'll be right now. Beyond that, I don't want to speak for you, Justin, but I don't think we have plans to do anything else from a wheelchair perspective.
No.
Okay.
No. It's a lot of work. So
yes,
it's and to do like another, like, if we went from like Lisbon, Portugal, all the way up, I mean, or the 500K or 800K, or I think it's 600K.
It's about 300 miles.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Okay. I just don't think for Patrick and I to do that again. Doing our from St. Jean to all this, that's a one-time deal. I don't think I could put Patrick through that again, unless we had like a crew of people doing it. But
I wouldn't mind doing the Portuguese.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see.
I'll help you.
All right.
This is from Pamela. Did you have a scheduled intention of how many kilometers you would go each day and have your end destination planned? I mean, I did this on my own 2 feet and it took me 37 days. I am amazed that you accomplished this in the time frame that you did. And Patrick, your energy is amazing. What would you have done differently next time to make things go more smoothly? Since you're now doing the Portuguese.
Yeah. I would say to answer the first part of that question, Pat, maybe you could take the second part,
Sure.
is, we just followed the Brierley guide and Michelin guide. We had the Michelin Camino guide. Good old Brierley is not exactly, he is good, but it's not 100% accurate in things. So we had the Michelin guide was a little bit more accurate. His maps kind of led us astray a few times, and we got, kind of did unnecessary work. So I'd probably say just knowing that, trusting that. But we've tried to stay close to. Patrick had X amount of days off of work. Mm-hmm. So he was working in the hospital at that time. So I was flexible, but Patrick had, he's like, we had to be a few days early because we had to acclimate, and because we were taking a video crew with us, there's just a lot with that. So, we're staying a few extra days with our wives in Santiago, and then went to Madrid for a little bit. So it was just, we had a window of time. We actually did 1 day early. We planned 36 days and we arrived in 35. We lost ground in some days, but we made up ground, like Meseta. We could cruise. I mean, we can get on a flat road and we could haul butt, because Pat's tall, he's 6'3". Yeah. He's got a long gait. Plus, if you're pushing me in my wheelchair, it's about 250 pounds. So it'll pull you down the road. So anybody who would push me was always walking faster than everyone else because of the weight of the chair, just naturally pulls you. So, so that, we did 1 day, I think we did what was our longest day? 25 miles one day?
Miles, yeah. So whatever that is in kilometers.
Yeah. It was 42K, I think that's what it was. We just kept going. We're like, you feel good? Yeah, I feel good. Let's go. So we just kept going. So that's what helped made us make up some ground. But Pat, would you do anything differently?
Well, yeah, I mean, and just to kind of address the benchmarks, we did have benchmark days that we were trying to get to, for sure. I kind of got thrown out the window after the first week. Just like Justin said, it would ebb and flow on how good you felt. But doing something differently, I don't know that I would. I mean, I trained as much as I could. I was in the best shape of my life. I mean, to not have the wheel brake would have been ideal, right? So if we could have planned ahead and had a better weld, great, that would have been amazing. But I don't know if I'd want to take that experience away, just because it was stressful. It's a stressful situation. Like, I don't know if we can actually do this now, or we had to. I mean, the guy that built the wheelchair sent us a replacement part from Vancouver, British Columbia, but that was going to be 7 days before it got there. So just the stress of that, but the way Ted, Justin, and I just came together. Our heads were so focused. The way we navigated that, problem solved, and figured it out with the help of so many strangers. Like, I wouldn't want to miss out on that story. And so this kind of goes back to if you're focused on how you're going to do something and you spend all that time and everything is perfect, if you will, you're going to miss out on a lot of really cool interactions with other people, because you're not going to be reliant on others. If you can do it all yourself, it's not that great. There's nothing that any one of you have done on your own that's that cool. I'm sorry, don't want to burst anybody's bubble, but if you've done it solely on your own power, I don't care. When you have to rely on somebody else to step in and help you out, that's where the magic is. And that's what the Camino is about. Yeah. And so I don't think I would change anything. I really don't.
Well, they say the Camino provides. And
yes,
it's true. Yeah,
it really does.
And yes, I did it on my own, and I agree with you totally. And I'm a nurse, and I was under the barrel. I wasn't at the bottom of the barrel, I was under the barrel. So I went, and I could not give. And I know that sounds strange, but I could not give, I could only receive. So Justin, I can appreciate what you were going through. I can't anywhere near put myself in your feet, or in your shoes, but it was, and the end of it, I was just bawling, because I can really appreciate what you were saying. So thank you.
Thanks, Pamela. Appreciate it.
Boy, I bet as a nurse, you are giving and
giving,
taking care of people and giving and giving and giving. Justin, isn't your wife a nurse?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Patrick is too. Patrick's RN,
I want to piggyback a Kelly question on that.
Yeah.
So you had your experience, you had the idea for the accessible Camino. Like, what was the most important thing you learned in your experience that you are taking to, or that you took to and when you formed Accessible Camino?
Well, I think one of the biggest lessons that I learned from our pilgrimage, our first one, is the full 800K, was just, there's a lot of good people in this world doing good things. And unfortunately, we don't hear about that every day. And so I think just my restoration in humanity and faith in humanity was restored. And just to see so many people step in, talking about, Camino providing, we've been told that before we'd go, but you can't rely on that. We just kind of jumped in and we're like, all right, it is what it is, and we're going to make our way through it. So if people help us, then they do. If they don't, then they don't. And, but it was in spades, people helping us along the way, and just stepping in and just putting their own agendas aside to either get us up a hill or stay with us for a few days. We had a couple pilgrims stay with us for a couple of weeks off and on. So it's just that. And it was everybody from every walk of life. Anybody who's walked the Camino, it's every walk of life, every social and economic background, every religious background or non-religious background. I mean, it's a whole slice of the world. And just that there's so many good people doing awesome things, and just I'm just, for me, doing kind of how that translates to what we're doing now, in particular, like with the accessible Caminos or speaking or whatever that is I'm just trying to make a dent in this world, and just try to, and I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to say that I have all the answers, because I don't. I flat out don't. I'll first tell you that. But if we can bring joy and smiles to people's faces, and just say, you know what, life is hard, but we can get through it together, then that is worth living for.
Amen.
Yep.
I think we can squeeze one more question in. And I love this question because it is such a Camino thing. Did you keep, this is from Philippa. Philippa, you have good questions. Do you keep in touch with your friends from the Camino, and do you have any updates about them?
Yes, we do. Joe got married. He's married for about a year and a half now. I'm working for the knife company,
Leatherman.
Multi-Tools.
Leatherman.
He works for Leatherman. So yeah, Joe's in Portland. Richard is in New York still, I believe. We keep mostly via Facebook updates. We'll get messages here and there or a text. Claudia's back. She came back.
How are the girls doing that helped you?
What's that?
How are the girls doing that helped you?
Yeah. So Claudia is in South Africa. Back in South Africa. She came to the States to do some volunteering here for a while. So we hear from her, not as much. We reach out, but just don't hear a lot. She's living her life down there, and that's fine. Christy just got married. We hear Christy a couple times a year, sometimes more. Actually, I just got a phone call, a kind of random phone call from her husband last week. Just asking some questions about just kind of stuff that he's working on that kind of is similar to stuff that I've done. And we talked, and I owe him some answers to some questions. So I'm actually glad you said that, because it's on my list of things to do.
Okay.
But
cool.
and then John is a guy that helped us out down in San Diego. We hear from him often on Facebook. Linda, who is from Canada, she actually showed up in Spain in 2019 to help us out with the accessible Camino. Didn't tell us she was coming. We're walking down the trail, and we all of a sudden we hear her voice behind us, like what in the world? So yes, we stay in touch. We make an effort. They make an effort, and to varying degrees. And
Linda's briefly in the movie. She's never interviewed or anything, but she's in part of that group that was helping us.
Yeah. She was kind of a quiet character, and then but she showed up. Oh, and Bernie too. We hear from Bernie all the time on Facebook.
Which ones was Bernie?
So he's not in the movie either.
He's not in the film much either, actually, at all. He's the Irish guy.
He's not in the movie at all. Yeah.
No, but
he's the guy who helped us. He's from Ireland.
A few times he was on camera. Not sure we could put that in the film.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got that.
Yeah.
Well, I hate to do this, but I think it's time to wrap up, because it's noon, and we always try to stay at an hour.
Sure.
There is another session this afternoon if you guys want to sign up and ask more questions. I forgot to mention earlier, and so I think this is a good last word for me, and then I'll let Justin and Patrick take us out. But on the link in the chat, I put the I'll Push You page on the CaminoForGood.com website. There's a discount code for those of you who haven't downloaded our app and want to walk the virtual Camino. And the discount code is I'll Push You, with no spaces or hyphenation or anything, just I'll Push You all together. The code is on that page, and that will give you back your $15 ticket price off the $60 cost to the app. Or you can pay the whole $60 and give more to Albergues. Up to you. And that's a thank you, everybody, for being here. And Justin, Patrick, I'll let you close.
Yeah. So thank you all very, very, very much. It was so nice to see your faces and to answer questions. And if you ever want to ask us a question, maybe you didn't get one in, we're happy to answer anything. So either come back session 2 or shoot us an email. Just go to allpushyou.com and you can submit a question there if you'd like. So thank you all so much for participating, for watching, for your support of Albergues, and for listening to us ramble on.
Thank you. And yeah, keep spreading the Camino love.
Yeah. Buen Camino, everybody. Buen Camino.
Yeah, Buen Camino.
Buen Camino.
Thank you.
Bye. Ciao.
Bye.
Ciao. I like that. Look at all the faces. I love that.
I don't want to go.
I know.
No, I've just finished.
Thanks for the good questions, Philippa.
Thank
Bye,
you.
welcome. No worries.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you,
Bye.
thank you, thank you.
Bye.
Ciao.
Hi, everybody.
Thanks,
Have a
everybody.
great Camino. I just
Thank
finished
you.
Yay.
Oh,
Good on you,
congratulations,
Margaret.
Margaret.
Oh,
Yeah.
Margaret, well
Good.
done.
4 days ago.
Woohoo.
Lindsay, yay, Lindsay. Thank you so
Hi.
much for everything.
Wednesday.
It was
Yeah,
not
it
the
was
journey that
amazing.
you guys did, but it was amazing, even though it was virtually fantastic.
Oh,
And
so
thank you,
much.
Justin, and thank you, Patrick. I just want to know how much training you did both mentally and physically. It must have been
yeah.
extraordinary. That
I
was my
trained for
question.
9 months straight.
What's that?
Wow.
I trained for 9 months straight. Well, actually, technically a year.
Twice a
I was
day.
in the gym for 9 months, twice a day, Monday through Saturday.
Amazing.
I didn't get sick. Fortunately, I didn't skip a day. And then the
Yeah.
last 3 months when Justin's wheelchair showed up, that's all we did. We were out 5-6 times a week.
You
Sometimes
must have
even
had to
more.
do a lot of mental preparation too, like a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that the focus within the dynamics of working out and just kind of setting that regimen for me was certainly a mental exercise. And then Justin and I had constant dialogue. We always
Yeah.
joke that we're on the we have our little hamster wheels in our brains of different thoughts that are going through our heads. And fortunately, they were never on the same cycle. It was that fear, like anxiety kind of thing, and then like, okay, we're good. And we were always kind of on different cycles.
Right.
Thank
We were never
God.
on the fear
Thank
moment
God.
at the same time. So
How did
He
you,
kept me
Justin, prepare physically and also mentally for it?
Physically, I didn't do anything because I can't. So I just tried to do the best that I could. Try to eat
Yeah.
healthy and try to shed a few pounds as much as I could.
Like,
And then mentally, I think the biggest thing for me was to set aside any presumptions of what could happen. It was just set it aside, and just reminding myself to set it aside. And then just go into it with open eyes, open heart, open mind, open soul, and just let it be as it needs to be.
Yeah.
So
Do you have any feeling at all? And if you do, were you ever in pain during the process? Because your brain still works and can send messages, but was there any
Yeah.
pain at all?
So I do feel everything from head to toe. But it's just my muscles don't work. That's the disease that I have. But it's every day is just depending on the day. Discomfort, just being jostled around and manhandled and pushed and pulled and
Fed
every day, all day long. Yeah, it's tiring. So even though Patrick went through more physical exertion than I did, but it was still not fun to be jostled around every day and just be like, oh my gosh, like my back and my butt and my backside.
Yeah.
So, sitting all the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I know we've gone over, but those are my questions, and just thank you a billion times over. I'm going to cry from all of us we all have our journey, as you all know. So thank you truly for your journey and sharing it with the world.
Oh, thanks,
Truly
Margaret. Appreciate
inspiring and heartwarming. I bawled the whole way through.
I did too.
I'm telling all my friends, just take a box of Kleenex and just sit and snore. It was so beautiful.
Oh, I should
I
have
think
said
my favorite moment is the high five. This is how we high five now. All my group of friends who are doing the Camino. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
Take care and don't
gotta
get
go to
sick.
work.
Be safe. Be safe.
All
Be
right.
safe.
You
Lindsay,
too.
thank you so much for all your positive thoughts on the Camino.
Lindsay, the rock star.
I want to do it again. I know that's crazy. I want to do
No,
No,
it's
we
not.
want you
It's not.
to. Do it again.
There's a
Okay.
reset button. There's a reset button. You can do it again.
Is there really?
Yeah.
Yeah, in settings.
Maybe I can
at
do
the
it
bottom.
faster.
Start
Maybe I
over.
Okay. Just so
And
you
by the
know, I
time-
had a double lung transplant done 21 years ago and a kidney transplant done a year and a half ago.
Wow.
So like
Margaret, wow.
Justin, I'm just here,
Wow.
thankful, grateful. My mantra is believe. Believe in your dreams and your goals and believe in yourself. So
Wait.
Yeah.
there you go. Justin,
I
not
like
your
that.
journey for sure, but everyone has a journey. So yeah. So you
Wow.
now
Thanks,
understand how deep it was for me, because
Very cool.
yeah, it's just extraordinary what you do every day, Justin, Patrick, what you do. It takes a village to do this. So
Yeah, it does.
thank you. What's that?
I said, yeah, it does.
Yeah. But both of you are just unbelievable. So thank you for sharing it.
Thanks, Margaret. Appreciate it.
I better go. I'm gonna
All
cry.
right. Have a great day. We'll see you.
Yeah, you too.